Yoko was born in the early 1950s in a small, remote village tucked deep within the mountains of northern Japan. Her home stood far from any town, and winters there didn't simply arrive. They consumed everything. Snow would fall for weeks without pause, sealing the family inside their wooden house, cutting them off from schools, neighbors, and the outside world. Her father had once been a professor in Tokyo, a quiet man who carried with him a small collection of books, some in Japanese, others in strange alphabets she couldn't yet understand. When he died, Yoko was 12, and with his passing came the heaviest snowfall anyone could remember. The roads closed, the paths vanished, and the house, buried in drifts, became a kind of frozen time capsule. With nothing to do and no one to talk to, Yoko began exploring the dusty shelves of her father's library. She started with a book in French. At first, it made no sense at all. Unfamiliar words, unfamiliar sounds, but something about the shapes and rhythms fascinated her. She read slowly, carefully, using a worn-out bilingual dictionary her father had scribbled notes in years earlier, sounding out words by the fireplace while the blizzard howled outside. One book led to another. Her mind, starved for movement, began to travel through language. By 13, she could read simple French sentences. By 14, she was writing her own. English followed, then German. Russian came next, then Mandarin, and finally Latin. 6 languages, learned entirely in isolation, without a single teacher, class, or recording. The snow, she would later say, had taken her freedom but given her time, and she chose to spend it building bridges between words. If you enjoy these kinds of stories, leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It helps us so much to keep bringing this type of content. Now let's head back. Each winter, she developed new methods. She'd take a phrase in Japanese and translate it into all 6 languages, comparing grammar and tone. She invented imaginary conversations between diplomats, wrote fictional speeches, kept journals in alternating tongues. There was no one to correct her, so she corrected herself, obsessively, precisely, teaching her mind to think like a scholar even though she had never met one. By the time she was 18, Yoko had lived through 6 nearly uninterrupted winters of solitude, each one shaping her into someone the world wouldn't have imagined existed in such a place. She could read Flaubert in French, Goethe in German, Tang poetry in Chinese. She could recite Latin proverbs by candlelight while melting snow hissed in the stove beside her. That spring, a cousin from the city visited. He found her writing notes in Latin and assumed she was copying passages. But she wasn't. She was composing original thoughts. He was stunned. He returned to Kyoto and told a university professor, who dismissed the story as rural exaggeration, until a handwritten letter from Yoko arrived, written in flawless German, politely asking for recommendations in Middle-High German literature. She was invited to Kyoto, boarding a train for the first time in her life. Linguists tested her in all 6 languages. She translated obscure texts, explained idiomatic expressions, and identified regional dialects with clarity. What amazed them even more than her ability was her grace. She seemed unaware that what she had done was extraordinary. She spoke of her learning process with simplicity, saying, "The snow wouldn't let me leave, so I decided to travel with my mind." She was offered a scholarship and even opportunities abroad, but Yoko declined. She returned to her mountains, to the same small house, now a little less silent. There, she continued to read and translate, helping local families with official documents, assisting monks with ancient texts, and quietly mentoring children from nearby villages who came to her for help. She never published a book, never sought fame. But if you passed by that remote cabin in winter, you might see her sitting by the window, a worn volume on her lap, softly whispering Dante in Italian as the snow fell around her. Not trapped, but utterly free.